what a lot of people don't understand, and that's really becoming popular, is the whole concept of rotational training. A lot of people want to develop rotational power. So let's take a moment and just talk about what rotation is. Now, rotation is the third plane of motion. It's our transverse plane. Okay, so rotation is actually a very efficient way of moving. It's how we throw, it's how we kick, it's how we punch. So anytime we want to develop a lot of force, we tend to use rotation. Heck, even in walking, my body uses rotation to propel my body forward. So let's talk about how you develop rotation. So for a lot of people, the whole concept of rotation is they think it comes from the torso or they turn both feet. Rotation always occurs from the ground up. So it's a squishing the bug type of effect. So think about your foot and think about squishing a bug. Force comes from the ground up and creates the motion through our entire chain. So when you want to actually develop rotational power, first we have to develop the ability to move in rotation and have stability and strength in rotation. So what I'm going to do first is show you a rotational press. So I'm going to take my Strength Ultimate sandbag here. I'm going to clean it up in position so it's on my feet. Now, what I'm going to do is get my feet set, and I'm going to pivot and try to press at the same time. Pivot, press is not pivot, then press. What I'm trying to do is create force from the ground to create energy up, so I press less than my upper body. I'm trying to learn how to create force from the ground up. That's what rotation's all about. Now, what you'll notice too is I'm staying in a very vertical position with my spine, so there's very low risk of injury if I'm not used to doing that motion. What a lot of you will do is when you press up, you won't develop force in the ground and you let your pelvis drop forward. You want to keep everything tight and braced. That's got to set a foundation for some more complex drills. So let's talk about some of the power we can develop. So when we're talking about developing power, again, has to come from the feet. Because power usually relates to speed, people stop moving their feet or they just try to twist their body. Remember, it's got to come from the ground up. It's a very powerful movement of the hip. So we're going to start with what we call inside out cleans. So I'm going to start just like I would my normal power clean with the USB, but as I clean, I'm going to pivot. Okay, so same thing, I'm caught, I'm braced, I'm going to reverse and catch. So when my body's absorbing the most amount of force, I'm braced, I'm in a strong position. When I'm producing that force, I'm creating that rotation. So let's see it again. Now a big key here is that my arms don't come out, they still come up. So whenever you're doing this motion, all the mechanics are the same. The last one in the series that we'll go is go outside in. So more complex because I have to be sure to both pivot and to hip hinge upon my hip to develop force and power. Let's go to the other side this time. So you'll find that there'll be a difference from side to side. I usually like to work from the top down. So we'll deadlift it up, we'll pivot. Now you don't have to get very far, just the side of the knee. See my good pivot here, strong upper back. So now I catch and I absorb in the pivot. So both aspects are pivot, pivot. What a lot of people will do here is they'll lose the shoulders and round. Okay, you want to stay braced. So a great drill to help correct that is a rotational deadlift. So if we're trying to make that transition, what we can do is start here. Everything's nice and strong. I'm pushing to the ground. I'm going to slowly pivot, hinge as far as my mobility allows for. Getting the ground is really not going to be possible for many of you. Push to the hip, pivot to the middle. So I've slowed down the speed component and I get to focus upon the upper back, the torso, driving the ground, and my feet. So these are some of your rotational power drills. A lot of people mistake things like rotational lunges because of the namesake for developing rotational power. They're not. They're actually anti-rotational exercises that we'll talk about later on. So in a moment, we'll take you through a series that you can create a really cool workout with these ideas. So we just went over some great rotational drills, so let's put in a workout. It's going to be pretty simple. It's going to be 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. So what we're going to do is 5 inside out cleans to rotational presses. Because we're going to do 5 each side, we're going to do 5 rotational lunges each side with a pause at the bottom. So in a minute, I'll show you the workout. What you're going to do is try to take as little rest as possible as you go through it. Aim to go through the workout anywhere from 3 to 4 times. It's going to be a big challenge. You can set your clock for 20 minutes. If you can't get the 3 to 4 rounds in 20 minutes, you can work until building that up.